Chapter 1.5, Rational Numbers. So we're going to talk a lot more about rational numbers later on in the chapter, but for now, a rational number is a number that can be written as a quotient of two integers. Remember, integers are those counting numbers, positive, negative, and 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, where the divisor, or the denominator, is not 0. So for example, 2/5, 2 over 5, both integers. It's a rational number. 0.3 repeating. So 0.3 repeating is a rational number because that is the decimal form of 1/3. And 1/3 has the integers 1 and 3. -6 is a rational number. And 3/2 is rational. 3/2 is rational because 3 is a whole number and 1/2 has 1 over 2. But it could also be written as 7/2, and 7 and 2 are both integers. So let's talk about comparing numbers. Example 1, -1/2 and -3/4. So option 1, our handy dandy trusty number line. So if I have 0, and here's 1, -1, I have -1/4, -1/2, -3/4, because -1/2 is also -2/4. So I have -1/2 here and -3/4 here. Remember, the further to the left we go, the smaller we get. Compare wants me to use an inequality sign. So -1/2 is greater than -3/4. And I know that because -1/2 is closer to 0 than -3/4 is. So let's talk about comparing decimals in example 2. So compare -4.4 and 4.7. Well, since one of these is negative and one is positive, the negative one is always going to be smaller. So -4.4 is less than 4.7. However, in problem B, I have -4.4 and -4.7. So again, if we take a look at our number line here, I'm going to go ahead and count by tenths. So let's make this a little smaller. -4.3, -4.4, -4.5, -4.6, -4.7. Okay, that's close enough. So I have -4.4 right here, and I have -4.7 right here. Well, since these are negatives, -4.4 is actually greater than -4.7 because it is further to the right and closer to 0. Alright, so let's apply using this to 4 mountain peaks. The peaks of 4 mountains, or seamounts, are located either below or above sea level as follows. 1/4 of a mile, -2/10 of a mile, -2/9 of a mile, and 1.1 miles. Which list shows the order of numbers from least to greatest? So step 1, I'm just going to write them down. I have 1/4, I have -0.2, I have -2/9, and I have 1.1. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put these all into decimals. So 1/4 is the same as 0.25, and -2/9 is the same as -0.22 repeating. So least to greatest, what is my smallest? Well, I have two negative numbers, and I have two positive numbers. So I can at least split the two of these up to determine which is the small. So let's start with my negatives. Negative 0.2 and negative 0.22. I'm going to number line this because I know that in a positive, 0.22 is greater than 0.2, but this is a negative. I'm not entirely sure. So negative 0.1, negative 0.2, 0.2. Let's put that decimal in the right spot. Negative 0.3. Okay, well 0.2 would go here, but negative 0.22 would go just a little bit after it and go about here. So negative 0.22 is actually smaller than negative 0.2. And then I have a decimal and a whole number. So that one's pretty easy. Then 1.1. But I of course need to write my original numbers. So my final answer, this negative 0.22 is negative 2/9. And then negative 0.2 or negative 2/10. And then 1/4 because 0.25, that's my original number. And then 1.1. So this is actually my final answer. All right, that's it for examples on this lesson. Complete your QCs and CYUs, and if you have any questions, please come ask me.